what's the first step that they could take?
The first step is to actually just do something. And so I think a lot of even the last couple minutes of conversation just constantly reinforce that we as a society, like wake up on January 1st and go, I'm going to change 95 things so that I can be better by the end of this year. And then you end up changing none of them.
Welcome back to the Primal Reset podcast. Today, we're joined by Chris Spears, the founder and CEO of Orderly Meds, a fast-growing telehealth company reshaping personal weight loss through GLP-1 treatments. He's a serial entrepreneur, and his latest adventure came to him after a personal health scare. Chris, it is a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for the invite. I look forward to sharing with you what got us here.
Share with me, what was that personal health scare, without going too much into detail? What got you into creating Orderly Meds?
Yeah, so if you rewind the clock a little bit to 2022, I was on an anniversary trip with my partner and ended up coming home and then just didn't feel well. A couple days later, I'm in the ICU. The doctor's cutting all my clothes off and telling me to, give him permission to transfuse a bunch of blood before I pass out. Came out the other side of that and, meeting with my general practitioner. One of the topics that came up was, Chris, you could stand to lose a little bit of weight. And so she wrote me a prescription for Ozempic. I went and tried to get that filled through my insurance company, who told me to go away, to which I then went to the local pharmacy and said, I'd like to fill this prescription. And they said, man, we haven't had that medication in for months. Good luck. You can call us on a weekly basis and hopefully you'll get access. Maybe you'll get lucky, which, ultimately leads to Facebook doing the Facebook thing, listening in on everything that I've got going on, and starts to put ads in front of me for other compound telemedicine pharmacies. I signed up, got the medication, absolutely great results on the meds, terrible customer experience. Didn't like the way that the just communication, wraparound services, overall web experience. I consider myself a technologist. So things that come to scare me when it comes to technology, I'm like, there's probably an opportunity here. So I roped in my former college roommate and a previous business partner, and he and I started working on the Orderly Meds platform. And what we really wanted to go after was just a better overall experience. So how do you change the way that the communication happens? How do you provide a bunch of wraparound services? So we did a deal with BetterHelp. So we launched with teletherapy, and then we onboarded nutritionists and personal trainers so that we could provide those kind of support resources as well. And then just built out a community of people supporting each other. And, 2 years ago when we launched, that was not the common kind of mission of the telemedicine company. So I think a lot has changed in the last 2 years, but I think we were at the forefront of driving all of those wraparound services so that these medications weren't a lifelong sentence, but something that you could be on to get where you needed to be. And then you would develop the habits and the mental game, the fitness game, and the nutrition game to not be on them forever.
We have seen so many more telemedicine and telehealth and all these different services online since the last 2, 3, 4 years. What makes you guys different than everyone else?
When I do put a lot on it around the wraparound services that we did at the beginning. That really set us apart, brought in a lot of people that were looking for more than just a place to get a shot from. I think as I look to where we are today and kind of where we're going in the future, we've got this point of view. It began as a experience problem. There wasn't a lot of access. There was an opportunity to provide a better experience to deliver access. Over the course of the last 2 years, the medication has come off the shortage list, which has created a new type of access problem. So we have to think strategic and kind of work with our medical partners to understand what is the unique biology of Chris versus Elliot. And, from a compounding perspective, is there a better outcome or is there a more tolerable outcome if that individual medication is modified in a way that supports additional health, like muscle retention, energy, gastro problems? So we are, as of April of this year, we acquired a pharmacy in Tampa. It's a 48,000 square foot facility. And out of that 503A compounding pharmacy, we are going to be producing 82 different formulations of the GLP-1 medications. So inside of those different configurations, you're going to see things like mood and energy and gastro and muscle that have a combination of additional either supplements or prescription medications so that you have a better experience on a GLP-1 weight loss journey.
I mean, to have such a big facility and the personalization, like you mentioned, is, in my opinion, one of the most important things to not only be able to serve as many people as possible, but to have that personalization to each and every single one. We're all
Yep.
different, and everyone seeing these Ozempic ads and even GLP-1 ads it could be the right fit for you. It could not be the right fit. And let's
Yep.
figure out if it is. And if it is, let's make sure that you're taken care of the best possible way. So with that all being said, I mean, FDA is definitely breathing down a lot of backs. So what's the real reason with FDA crackdowns on Ozempic and on GLP-1 that they're kind of ramping up a little bit on those crackdowns?
Yeah. And I mean, I think a couple of thoughts. One, when I think about the personalized experience, right? There's an opportunity that I think tech and data have enabled us to have a experience with our doctor and our pharmacist that looks like more like an experience pre big pharma, right? So my doctor actually can be given a dossier of information on me that is super robust and a lot more than they get out of the 4 second, conversation they have when they walk into the room with me. My pharmacist now has a lot more information that they can react to create a more compelling medical option for me than just the standard generic that everybody gets prescribed. I think tech and data have kind of played into this opportunity for personalization, especially you think about just the health tech devices, right? I've got a ring on, I've got a watch on, I stood on a Hume device this morning. Like I'm playing with all this health tech stuff because so much of that data, continuous glucose monitor, like it all just feeds the engine for allowing our providers to better understand us. And as we change over time, right? Even inside of personalized medicine, you might not get the same combination every month. It could adjust and adapt based on the blood work and kind of your body's reaction to the medication that we're picking up through health tech. So I think there's some really cool things in there. Your question about just kind of the FDA hasn't taken any actions, right? So if you look at what's actually happening, the FDA is saying, hey, this is not on shortage, and we'll see, rightly or wrongly, they're going to battle that out with the OFA, which is the organization that disagrees with that. I get on an email on a regular basis from our pharmacy partners that are like, hey, we don't have any of the XYZ branded medication, so we can't ship that for you guys anymore because we sell both, right? So we had our primary pharmacy partner reach out 2 weeks ago and say, hey, we're all out. We can't get more supply of the branded. You can't send us any more of those prescriptions. And we had to go start working with a different pharmacy partner for that. So, the idea that the medication is offshored, I think is still very much a lot to be determined. But then if you look at the most recent set of lawsuits, and this is nuanced, but Lilly is suing these companies and none of it is about the medication. They're not suing over a patent. They're suing over false advertising or the corporate practice of medicine. They are not coming after and saying, hey, stop replicating my medication. Because that's a very risky proposition for them to take, right? Like they can go after these other things that potentially can make someone stop operating in this category, but they haven't gone right at the problem yet. And I don't know necessarily if they will, because I don't think it's an enforceable action. The FDA has to be the one that brings that kind of action against a telemedicine or compound pharmacy.
Interesting. I mean, all the rules and regulations with all these new medications that have been coming out, and we've seen definitely positive responses from a lot of these. We've also seen the negative side of it. What's the pros and cons of someone looking for a weight loss drug like a GLP?
I mean, obviously they should speak with a medical professional, but in my experience and kind of what it did for me and what I think you're starting to see in the news cycle is that it's not just a weight loss drug, right? Like that it is having an impact on rheumatoid arthritis, that it's having an impact on autoimmune, that it's having an impact on addiction problems. So the spectrum of things that it is now supporting just continues to get larger and larger. I also think that you're starting to see some reports debunking some of the more traditional myths around the action of the GLP-1 as it related to specifically thyroid cancer, right? The set that hit on that was so small, and yet it was still used as an exclusionary just because it made the FDA process easier. So you're seeing a lot of those kind of news pieces come out, but we're also still in the first inning, right? So yes, a GLP-1, was first patented as a pill a long time ago, but the modifications made recently that allowed it to go more slowly absorption through our body is the big adjustment here. So if there's 2 out now, V3 is coming. I think there's something like 142 additional GLP like medications in the FDA pipeline. It reminds me of a movie. It's like, well, we have 10-minute abs, and then you have 6-minute abs, and then somebody's going to develop 3-minute abs. Like, at some point, we're going to take the shot. We're just going to be thin, right? But I do think it is a transformation in kind of healthcare, right? You look at insurance companies not covering this medication because of the cost of it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they don't have enough longitudinal data to say, if I put Chris on these drugs now, then in 3 years, his healthcare costs go down 40% and his productivity from a, societal or workplace perspective goes up 40%, right? So long term, we know that's a good thing. But on average, an employee is with a company for something like 26 months. So by the time the insurance company that paid for me to lose the weight would start to collect the benefit, I'm out. So they won't make that decision. They won't make the leap to say, this is the right thing to do. We should do it for everybody. So all of the insurance companies are going to have to move at one time. But that being said, I do think as we collect data, as we continue to see this, like there's an opportunity for this to be the end of obesity in America, right? Where this is not kind of a, hey, take this if you want, but it becomes as prominent as like smoking cessation, right? There is just a constant stream of programs around weight loss because it improves your knees and your back and your heart. Like just it's going to be a cascading effect, which I think will be super interesting when it'll all happen in like a flash, right? It's going to go from, nope, nobody covers it. It's horrible. It's too expensive, to everybody has to be on it. Let's solve this problem right now.
So, in a future sense, are we thinking that GLP-1s will become as common as multivitamins?
Yeah.
And to that point, I've spoken with a lot of more on the holistic side of practitioners and wellness experts on this podcast. What's your take on people going more of a traditional route as opposed to fixing the problem right then and there?
I think if that was working for humanity for the last 50 years, you should keep doing that. But if you're in the camp that has never had success with those approaches, then this is the right time to do it, right? I mean, there's just two wildly different points of view, right? So one is, you should do this. Well, I tried it and I didn't. Well, you should try harder, which is kind of what you just espoused to me, or and remain unhealthy because you have tried for 20 years and it hasn't gotten better, or take advantage of modern science to put yourself into a better position, to which then you may be able to long-term sustain a more holistic approach.
And I would agree with that. I've always said, I've had my fair share on the Western side. I've had my fair share on the traditional side as well. There's a need for both. And depending on what everyone's situation, going to that personalization approach at the same time, sometimes you can take things a bit more holistically, maybe a little less side effect wise as well, depending on what your situation looks like. If it's not nearly as severe, if you're not in a urgency matter to actually achieve that said goal, maybe traditional could be a smart approach to start with. But like you mentioned, going through your journey as well, having those problems right then and there and needing to fix it, the quickest way and the most scientific and with all the technology that we have out there is going to a GLP-1, going to these branded weight loss drugs that can actually help, whether we know all of the data for the last 20 years or not.
Right. Well, and I want to be really clear. Like, I don't think this is a one or the other, right? And the reason we built a company that has all those wraparound services is I believe it's yes and, right? Like, we have to actually change habits to get to the place where those other things can be long-term sustainable. I also am completely against the advertising from some of our competition that is like, hey, you're not obese, you just need to lose 5 pounds, no problem. Like, come take a GLP-1 shot for 2 weeks and you'll be great, right? Like, this isn't a vanity play. Right. I think this is the beginning. And I do think this cascades in kind of the next social moment for us. Like, this is going to go from a weight loss play to now we're all focused on longevity. Right. This group of people are that have been unhealthy for whatever period of time now have this opportunity to get into a physical and mental space. And they're going to be very comfortable having done that under a mix of both traditional and medical ways. Right. And then they're going to look and go, well, if I can feel this good here, what else is out there, right? What else is out there from a fitness perspective, nutritional perspective, medical perspective, supplement perspective, and how do we, start to think about extending our lifetime and feeling better longer, right? That's where I think this obesity is going to drop down and everybody's going to start focusing on longevity.
And we've seen it already within the last year or so, 2 years. People have started to look more towards the journey as opposed to the end solution at the same time. How easy do you think it will be within the next 2 years, we'll say? Because I think 5 years will catch on to it. Maybe 10 years will catch on to it fully. Within the next 2 to 5 years, how easy do you think it will take everyone who is in that state of urgency, needing to look forward to a GLP-1 or these branded weight loss drugs to then start on their longevity health goals? How easy do you think that transition will be?
Um, I think you're, as you said, you're already starting to see it, right? Like there's already an intersection that says, I've lost all this weight and I'm looking like to improve my energy and I'm looking to improve muscle recovery. I think the biggest opportunity for the, pharmaceutical side and the FDA to figure out is like, what are we doing with this huge list of research only peptides? Right. Like there's so many claims out there. They do stuff across the entire spectrum. We've got the stem cell group that's like, inject this in your knee and you'll be, it's going to regrow your gums when you put it like this. How do we get more of that through the process, right? How do we get more of those things? Because the larger that aperture is, right, of different, like, I want a point solution for muscle recovery. I want one for energy, versus kind of the, now it's more broadly like you've got human growth hormone, you've got NAD plus as the approved ones, right? I think when there's 60 things on that list, people will be like, I want to try that. I'm going to go explore that. It's much cheaper than an NAD plus or a Somorelin. And, start to see like, in the tech world, we call them microservices, right? Like I've got this very specific thing to handle this very specific problem. And I think that's where this personalization is going to go, right? And it's going to continue to apply on the longevity side, right? Whether you're looking at, my genome versus your genome might indicate different markers that mean different medications or even activities are going to behave differently for us. I think you're going to start to see people lean into all of the testing platforms that are doing epigenetics and hormone on there's a company that we just started working with that's doing, 4 hormone, one a week, basically. I do a 1 a week hormone test. Like, where am I at? How do I start to optimize those? Because so much comes out of just kind of the hormone and whether or not I have inflammation in my body. Like, those are going to be the next things that get pulled in. And I think it is a really easy transition. People that feel good are going to continue to invest in feeling better.
I think we've lost that track for the last 40, 50 years of, well, we had that marker of we felt like this, and we've dropped to now we feel at our best right here, but we don't know how to get back up there. And we haven't been able to figure out what will get us there. So kind of the journey of wanting to get there is less likely because you're in a lower state. You don't feel nearly as good. You don't have the energy, you don't have the will, you don't have the want to get there. And I would definitely agree. And hopefully we'll see that tomorrow, where we can see everyone starting to feel like this and starting to feel wonderful every single day and just wanting to maintain that and learning more on how can we maintain that? What are the alternative solutions? Who can actually help us do this? What can we optimize in our daily lives? And it's such a rabbit hole to go down, but what would you say is the very first step that someone could take today to start wherever they might be, whether it's an urgent matter or just looking to start on their health journey? What's the first step that they could take?
So many opinions on first steps. The first step is to actually just do something. And so I think a lot of even the last couple minutes of conversation just constantly reinforce that we as a society, like wake up on January 1st and go, I'm going to change 95 things so that I can be better by the end of this year. And then you end up changing none of them. Right. And there's 1,000 books on habit and, and they don't say come up with 40 habits and try to change them all at once. It's like, pick something small, go do that, and then feel a little bit better and go do the next thing. And just reinforcing this conversation, right? Like GLP-1s do that, right? Like you lose a little bit of weight and you're like, I'm feeling good. Like, let's eat that salad instead of that McDonald's, right? Like you have a little bit more brain, you have a little bit more EQ, you have a little bit more, you have a couple more spoons up there to do like the emotionally intelligent thing instead of you're in a state of depression, you don't feel great about yourself, so you just continue punishing yourself. So if you just need a first step, do something, right? Open up ChatGPT, have a conversation about how you feel and see what it comes back with. Call your doctor and schedule an appointment with your general practitioner to sit down and just unload on them, right? Like it's hormones, it's weight, it could be a whole variety of things. I think there's a lot from a community perspective where, and again, there's balance between finding people that have gone through a similar experience, which I think you can find all over Facebook and Reddit, and just kind of reading those stories can be a great first step for someone, and then before you do anything, the medical conversation, right? Somebody that's going to be looking after you and providing you that continuum of care so that you understand what's happening in your body and that you're doing it correctly. I think all of the horror stories that we see that come out around GLP-1s, or it's like, I signed up with 3 different companies and I did all of them at once because I needed to lose 20 pounds before the wedding in a month. Or, one that, stands out to me was like, I think there was one along the lines of like, I was sick every day for a month. Well, don't do that. Like, stop taking the medication. Pay attention to yourself. Talk to your doctor. Like, those aren't good things. I haven't used the bathroom in 2 weeks. What? That's not normal. Like, tell someone, drink some water. Don't just let your body sit that way, right? Like, so there is a degree of like accountability that I think we all need to have, but it is little small steps.
I love that. I've always said small steps. Take the first step today. We don't have to wait till the new year and change everything about our lives. Start today. It might not be a Monday. It might not be a Tuesday. It might not be the end of the week. Start today and you'll feel better whenever that might happen. It's not going to happen the day of, it's not going to happen the next day. It's going to take some time. Always take that first step in whatever it might be. Have one salad extra a day.
Yeah.
Start with that.
And while I think this medication is incredible and it is, life-changing, it is still, there's still such a audience of people that believe it's like, I took my shot. Why am I still hungry? Why didn't I lose 3 pounds this week? Why? And it's like, because that's not healthy. That's not what this is for. Like, you still go, like, this is a supporting tool. It's not the, every day I should feel like I've dropped 2 pounds. That's not what this is.
Do you feel like we market
consumer expectation out there around that?
Do you feel like we market GLP-1s and all these drugs, weight loss drugs, in a certain way to make it seem that we don't have to do anything lifestyle wise differently?
I do think that and we may be guilty of it at times. I do think that there is a component of this is the easy button. Right. Like, I can remember 2 years ago when I, was first going down this path, I did some calls with friends that I knew were on the medication, and one of them referred to it that way. And I was like, that's not how I want to position it, but I understand your point of view on it. Like, it just kind of lets you be you without thinking about anything else. And that person had resigned themselves to a lifelong, I'm just going to be on this medication because that's their personal choice. But I also, again, like, the reason we launched was to provide those wraparound services, on a regular basis. We're promoting those things. There's, we run, weekly or every other week, educational sessions with nutritionists, with mental health, with fitness pros, with just a wide variety of individuals so that folks get access to alternative ways to continue their journey.
And you guys have done a phenomenal job at that for the last 2 years, almost 2 years, of being able to provide that personalization to everyone and figuring out what actually can get them to continue on their health journey without having to necessarily rely on the drug alone. So I love what you guys have done. Where can people find more information and start on their health journey?
Yeah, I mean, so for us, it starts at orderlymeds.com. You can also hunt me down on LinkedIn, Chris Spears, if you have any questions on the LinkedIn side or more, business or personal side. But yeah, it's an easy process, right? But it's also, don't just having known nothing, sign up and go down the process, do some education, right? Back to that idea of personal accountability. Your first step should be understanding what it is you're going to put in your body before a doctor prescribes it or recommends it.
I love that. And if anyone's looking for more education, there's a whole bunch of videos on this podcast, a whole bunch of different variety of wellness leaders who have spoken about a bunch of different ways to start your health journey. I'll have all of those links below for Chris's information.